Hi, I'm with Yusuf Rashid DeLaine, and he's written a book called A New Economic System, A Guide to Debt Elimination and Wealth Creation. Yusuf, how did you come to write this book?
Let me preface by saying I've been studying money all my life since a child. Uh, and as I grew older, I started experiencing debt. And I realized that that was very prevalent, not just in my community, but all over the world. And I realized that at some point early on, I realized that money and debt were two components to the major financial systems of this world. You couldn't have money without debt, or vice versa. You couldn't have debt without money because then how would you be able to pay off the debt if you didn't have money? So that led me to explore many systems that are in existence and try to create new systems that are not currently in existence, and to try to alleviate some of the pain that many cultures on the planet, many groups of people, irrespective of race, color, creed, gender, or demographics, are experiencing with this debt-based economics or debt-based economy. And it led me to the conclusion that once we move over to a communal system where it's based on unity and organization as opposed to disunity and disorganization, what I'm seeing from some of the major economic systems, i.e., capitalism, socialism, uh, communism, I'm seeing that the people are being divided. They're not working together collectively or communally. So there's a rubric of divide and conquer that's separating the people in this organization and this unity that's keeping the people in financial bondage because they're not able to leverage each other in terms of playing this financial game of the world.
There's a lot to be said about collective, people coming together and pooling their resources. And that's where this system of yours comes into play, right?
Well, mine is a new economic system. What I mean by a new economic system, we don't want to totally abandon all the principles of capitalism because there's some nice features of capitalism, particularly when we talk about interest or dividend or reinvestment or compound interest. But that's just isolated towards a small minority of individuals or individuals who invest solely individually. Now, when we begin to explore compound interest, or i.e., exponential compound interest, on a mass level of people pulling their money together through collective buying power, cooperative economics, and exponential compound interest, we begin to see greater returns of money and wealth that can alleviate and offset the large burden of debt, whether it's individual debt or collective debt. The key is people working together to pool money. But I'm saying that we can not only just work together collectively, but we can also revamp the system by working together collectively as well as individually, burn the candle from both ends. We don't have to totally abandon the old economic system, but we have to get into some type of new economic system to alleviate the debt burdens. And let me just preface by saying one of the things with this current financial system that we're seeing, the money, particularly American money, the US dollar, is not backed by anything. It's fiat currency. It's not backed by a gold reserve currency. So we're just talking about paper money like in a monopoly game. It's not backed by anything. And we're seeing a lot of nations or countries across the world that are realizing that, and they're beginning to back their currency by commodities or the resources that they have in their country, or a gold back or silver back reserve currency, which carries more weight than a currency that has no backing at all except the paper that it's printed on.
So when you're talking about cooperative economics, what does that mean? Cooperative
Cooperative economics, the root of cooperative economics is cooperation. When you have a community, you can't have a community without cooperation, cooperation, which means working together collectively in a pool where people who work together collectively in a pool are able to leverage each other, leverage the numbers of each other coming together solely collectively for the pool of the people. And this has to be based on organization and unity. It's possible, and trust. It's possible to do it. What I'm saying in the book is that, look, we pay all this money for taxes, Social Security, and tithes to the government and church. Why can't we begin to work together and pool our money into some type of fund or a mutual fund that will pay us dividends, to pay us uh, returns, where we can alleviate the stress and bondage of debt? The problem with debt that we're experiencing is because we are segregated, we are separated, and we're not working together. If we were to work together collectively in a pool through cooperative economics and collective buying power, then we'll be able to offset the debt and eventually come into a new economic system or a new paradigm where the system of capitalism, which is a pyramid based on divide and conquer, will no longer be able to separate us and keep us segregated, where we experience debt on an individual level.
Yeah, we're each of us having a lot of debt these days. There's student debt, there's all kinds of healthcare debt, all sorts of things. Everybody has some sort of debt.
But let me tell you something. But when we talk about debt, like I said earlier, debt in money are two different sides of the same coin. So although we might be in debt, that's someone's asset. Our debt, I mean, we are slaves to the loaner.
So
our debt is
personal
someone's
debt,
asset.
our personal debt
Yeah,
is
it's
somebody
someone's
else's
asset.
asset, right?
So, well, I mean, with this money, this system we have, debt. The problem with the debt we have right now is that we have worthless currency, but the debt is real. I mean, and the wealth is real of the holder that's holding the debt, but we're stuck with the bondage of debt, and they're stuck with the wealth of the debt as an asset, but we're in bondage to the holder of the debt. And once we begin to work together collectively, we begin to pool money to create returns, investment, and savings that will alleviate or offset the bondage and burden of debt through creating programs, systems. If we can do it through taxation of our labor or using programs like Social Security from our labor or tithes from our labor to the churches, we begin to pull money into a savings and investment account, which will create systems and buy property that will pay us returns from the property or businesses back into the pool. And from the pool, we can get returns from our investment.
So when you're talking about work, you talk also about the infinite supply of work and the large supply of unemployment. Is this part of that sort of keeping you in enslavement to the debt?
No, what I'm saying in that segment of the book, there is an infinite supply of work in the world. There's a large supply of unemployed, but people are working jobs and not getting paid a living wage. When we begin to work and pool our money into a pool, we begin to create new systems. See, working a job individually and making a minuscule income is not going to cut it. It's going to keep us in bondage. But when we work a job individually and we pool our money together collectively, then we begin to pay off our responsibilities and also pay off the debt and ease the bondage and burden of our debt responsibilities. So all
Now,
I'm saying is that, yeah, go ahead.
how large a communal effort do you envision this to be? I mean, is it a family affair? Is it a church? Or is it like the state?
It can go on every level, every scale. And in the book, I was trying to identify many different levels. Yes, family, church, community, even governments. A worldwide communal system, even governments. We have to do something about the debt burden of this world. And the only way the debt burden can be alleviated unless we come into a new financial, a new economic system to offset the debt, which would be through a communal system of pooling our money through cooperative economics, collective buying power, and exponential compound interest. Let me just preface by saying, to step back a little bit, when I say a new economic system, it's based on exponential compound interest, but that system came from a parable called the chess parable.
Yes,
And
can you talk
I
about
cite
that?
that in the book. And
Yeah,
that chess parable is, you can Google that. It's cited in China and India. Even Bill Gates has a parable, that parable in his book, one of his books on page 32. Uh, it's about a wise man who he asked the king for a, a a grain of rice doubled on a chessboard 64 times. And and so the king thought it was this a ridiculous order request. But when he had all his wise men do all the calculations, the number was so infinite uh, that he realized that he better just give him a nice house and a lot of land. He can never pay it off. So that chess parable was very profound because now we're talking about compounding, uh, which is doubling. But to create compounding and doubling, we need to come into a system where we begin to pool our resources and just uh, through any denomination. And I mean, I had an example. If governments in this world wrote a computer software program, and took out these small amounts of change from the citizens who work, each paycheck, that is magnificent. I mean, we have 340 million people here in America. A large percentage of them are working. If the government set a fund aside is to take out a percentage of change for a debt elimination account or for emergency purposes, just to help out the citizens, that could, or just to eliminate the debt over time, not just this government, but governments around the world. And it can be done in any denomination, but I'm specifically talking about change. The compounding of that is incredible.
but
It's,
isn't
it's
that,
beyond the deficit of this country.
yeah, I mean, isn't that what we pay taxes for? I mean, the taxes go into a pool and we spend money from the taxes. So, why should it be just the debt? Why not Social Security, Medicare, all of those things that we pay for through our taxes? I mean, that's sort of happening now, right?
Yeah, but that's my point. Uh, it's happening, but not directly for the citizens and the people. You
Oh,
know, it goes to Social Security. Yes, Social Security is here to help us. Uh, in the pooling and compound interest, we can see in the tax and Social Security in uh, tithes, but that goes, yes, to help us to some extent, but we need to use those principles specifically aside from the government to help ourselves, because the principle is already in operation, you know, but are we benefiting from all those taxes that we give the government? That's the issue. That's the
yes.
issue. Are we benefiting from the tax that we give the government directly or indirectly. And
And
that becomes the issue.
That's right. And that's a huge political basketball that we pass along, don't we? Because it's like, oh, we should do this and we shouldn't do this. And what do we do with the taxes? Should we do this with the taxes or not? And everybody has an opinion, right?
Let me just reiterate. I'm talking about a new economic system of exponential compound interest based on the pooling and the communal unity of people on any level, in any demographic, in any currency, as long as the currency is backed by commodities and gold, will work. And it will be able to eradicate and eliminate debt and wean us off a debt-based Babylonian economic system to bring us into a new paradigm, utopia of no debt and wealth for
And
everyone on the planet.
I love now, can you go back? You said Babylonian. Can you describe that for me?
Well, this whole capitalistic system of debt-based economics comes out of the ancient Babylonian system.
Tell
It
me
comes out
more.
of the ancient Babylonian system. And as I was saying that out of the Babylonian system, you have debt and wealth that are two different sides of the same coin. But the only drawback and downfall of that system is what happens when the debt exceeds the money supply and you're not able to pay the debt. Then the system's going to crash.
It already
This is
has a
crash.
couple times, right?
It's going to crash. And I say in the segment in the book that divide and conquer is rooted in competition and gain. It's rooted in competition and gain, divide and conquer. So what we have in this capitalistic system is a zero-sum game. Some get money, some get debt. Or some person's debt is another person's money. It's a zero-sum game. But it's like when you go to a casino, you have everybody betting against each other to try to win from the house money. But the house is able to always stay on top because you have all the players divided. But when all the players come together and work together and invest together, they beat the house and the game is destroyed forever. And there's no debt, there's only wealth, or the whole system is destroyed forever.
That's right.
So we have at casinos, we have people trying to beat the house individually, but they can never beat the house unless you work together.
So tell me about the Mormons. You have a part of your book describes the Mormons' great system.
I respect the Mormon philosophy. They have a culture where they do volunteerism and they reward their faith members through volunteerism. And as long as their volunteerism is compensated, there's no need for anything. So all their needs are met because they're compensated through their volunteerism, and they store up money for the end times. And they don't deal with fiat currencies or the welfare system. They deal with precious metals and land and precious metals and land and tangible resources. They don't deal with fiat currencies that vie for advantages in the market because they know that fiat currencies are worthless and that system's going to come to an end very, very quickly. You know, so they have a very, very profound system where all their members, as long as they are a member of the Mormons, they can volunteer and be compensated, and all their volunteer work is paid for, and the household paid for, and they store up money for the last days.
Yeah. You know, we have a lot of people in need and hungry people, homeless people. How could this new economic system benefit them?
Well, as I said in the
I mean,
book,
they're beyond debt, right? They don't have debt because they're homeless. They have nothing. right? How
Well,
could
I talk about that. I touch on that. That we as a country we waste a lot. I mean, you begin. I mean, some companies are already doing it. Like ShopRite, a lot of the major grocery stores they donate their food to the shelters or to the pantries. Uh, they donate their food where the poor and needy can eat. You know, but we waste a lot of food, and we have to. I mean, you have buffets, you have fast food stores, uh, you have restaurants. We need to be able to put security measures around the food and give to those who are in need. And also, when you donate food, you can also cook the food and prepare meals for the needy where they can eat for free. So the donated food that's being donated, we can have trusted cooks cook those meals so they can eat for free. So we're just kind of like recycling the food so it's not going to waste where the needy, it's kind of like trickle down to some extent, you know, where the food that would normally go to waste, although it's good and healthy, we can give to people who need it. And this is a concept of pooling and sharing. And I talk about it in the book potluck
Oh, yeah, the,
dinners.
the
Uh,
potluck joint banquet.
yeah, where people bring food to a potluck banquet, and when they pull it together, it'll be more than enough to feed everybody, and there will be a dividend left over. Keep in mind, no one man can eat an entire buffet. No one man or woman can eat an entire buffet. So that food has to be shared and pooled with those who can also need to eat as well.
This is amazing. Thank you. We're at 20 minutes now, and we're going to be putting this up on our YouTube channel, so we can't go too much longer. Do you have anything more to say about this new economic system that we haven't touched on? I mean, there's so much to it. It's a very thin book. Look at this, but it's very thick in terms of the content. There's a lot of content in here, and there's a lot to like think about. Do you have any more, like, one thing that's really important to you?
With the book, I think in essence, the book is an attack on debt. Like I said in the book, debt is the elephant in the room. Debt is the elephant in the room in this world. It's the elephant in the world. It's the elephant in this big room called the world. And my book is an attack on debt. I'm attempting to eliminate debt so we can all live in paradise here on earth. So
Great.
please I want to thank Raymond Library at the East Hartford Public Library in Connecticut for giving me the opportunity to expound and elaborate on some of the principles of my book, A New Economic System. And I want to thank you specifically, Ms. Dupre, for having me and meet the author.
This is fascinating. You've done a lot of research on this, and I hope that people take it out of the library and read it, because it's very interesting, especially people who know about economics, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
So,
much.
go ahead.
No, I'm listening. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, we're going to end now, and we'll be seeing you on YouTube in shortly.